I don't care how easy and fast it is or how good you think it looks. Don't do it. I don't care how broke you are. Please stop. Please stop. Get a
Exactly.
human. All right. Well, I really love that because it's such an important conversation. And speaking of collaboration, there's an artist that I love, and he's from Chicago, and I actually saw him at my club the other day. His name is Nick Cave. I feel fundamentally he's a fiber artist. I really do. I'm like, he's fiber. He's fiber. And fiber is, I feel like he's actually like when I go to museums and I see fiber on the walls, and I look at it and I'm like, wow, what is that? That's so wild. Like who does this? But he's probably the first artist that took fiber to a whole nother level, kind of what you're describing, like what you're talking about yourself. You saw this gap. You're like, why hasn't anybody done this? Now I realize that, his work is also based in, historical African movement and dance. Um, like he's integrated movement, right? And it's like, what is it? And he's gigantic. And I also think for Nick Cave, I know he has artists that work with him. Like he's not, hand stitching everything. It's just like, who's the artist that makes the big bulbous, the bulbous sculptures? Like he has teams of people that bring things together for him. He did the Mickey Mouse and the Michael Jackson sculpture. I can't think of his name. And then, even when I think about, Nikki de Saint Phal, she's a French artist and she had people helping her with mosaics. Um, do you have a dream collaboration at all? Or when I say collaboration, I mean that could be either a person that exists already in fiber in another country, or it could really be, yes, I would love to have a staff of 25 people that I could stand over and help them get to the work that I have in my vision, because I have so many visions that, and I'm not trying to put words in my mouth, but I am thinking a little bit about, I know that only one person can build the one thing,
Yeah.
but a piece of me is always like, oh my gosh, like how do we get her work? How do we get her work in Target? How do we get her work at Crate and Barrel? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, so put that in the context of a dream collaboration. And you might actually say to me, JinJa, no, nope, I'm not, that's not it.
I do. I mean, so it's interesting. There's so many avenues for collaboration and what that can mean. And so on the one hand, I I still love the making myself so much. And I know that there are so many other artists in all mediums who then they're not even painting their own paintings. They're not even doing their own collage. They're not even doing, they're
Jeffrey
actually
Coons.
overseeing a team.
Jeffrey Coons. That's what I
Yeah.
was thinking of. Go ahead.
Well, yes, that's it. So lots of people who, in sculpture artists like him and people who, and then to me though, I think, because I think a lot about the intersection of design, craft, art, and then fashion in my case, and where these intersect, because to me, if you're not making the piece yourself, you're a designer. And you can be a great designer. You can have and then if you, are, because to me, an artist, um, I think is a little hands-on, at least in my opinion. If I want to consider myself an artist, um, I do believe that if my finished piece is a physical piece, I at the very least need to know how to make it. Even if eventually I'm saying, okay, I've done this so much that I'm going to teach other people how I do this, and then they're going to help me. So for me, the hands-on aspect is so important that at least for now, and this may change, and I'm open to that changing. One day I'm like, screw this. I don't want to do it all myself anymore. I want to have support. But I really love that process of physically making the pieces. That said, um, collaboratively, I think both in terms of kind of punch needle world and the craft space, I see a lot of exciting opportunity for collaborations within, with other yarn brands, with other craft brands to bring the craft of punch needle further into visibility, into the space, particularly with the background that I have, which is rooted in the history of the craft. Because I think now, when things get picked up by, all of a sudden Michaels is making a punch needle craft kit, there's something lost in the fact that this is actually a heritage technique that isn't actually just a fun little kid's craft. And I really, that's really important to me to kind of tell that story in any collaboration that I would do. And then in terms of my own work, in terms of handbags and coats and fashion collaborations, what I'm interested in now, and what I'm so glad you asked this question, because now that I'm done with this book, the thing that I can't wait to do is to get back into making one-of-a-kind pieces And my dream is to collaborate with artists and illustrators where we can work together to say, okay, their design aesthetic, their designs, or what, what they're pitching, or a piece of their artwork, how can I translate that for them and with them into a coat or a handbag and in punch needle? Because so much art and illustration would translate so well to punch needle. And I have my own aesthetic, and I can draw, and I do a lot of work with geometric shapes and textures, but I want to see this other work in my medium, and I would love to partner with other creatives. And I have some maybe dream people in mind that I don't want to jinx and maybe, put out there eventually.
Beyonce.
But, illustrate. Oh, I mean, hey, now we're talking daydream. Let's go big.
Beyonce. Yeah. Just everything needs to be Beyonce.
And I'm like, hey, there, some collaboration that creating a piece that is in collaboration with an artist or an illustrator to bring their work to life in the medium of punch needle within fashion. And then who could wear those? So it's interesting. I mean, you're a musician, music is such an inspiration to me. And I also love that with punch needle, I can just turn on music and I can lose myself, and I can go and punch, and it brings me into this meditative zone. One of my dreams too is to create one-off custom pieces for other folks to wear. And to me, musicians are the ultimate people to collaborate with in that way, because they have such a persona, a personality, and I want to see how my work comes to life on them. And I want to see how they bring it to life in a way that is different than when I'm just making a piece and I have it on a hanger. Fashion comes to life on humans, and the same piece can have a different vibrancy, or will be styled differently or worn differently on different individuals. And to me, musicians are some of the most just expressive, interesting people that would be a dream to work with too. So
I love that.
I'm excited I'm glad you asked that, because I'm collabs are really where I would love to go in the future.
That's next, right? So I want to, you talk a lot about the zone you go in and the vibe that you're experiencing. Is there a creative ritual or habit that you have that you're comfortable sharing that gets you there? And I think about, I sometimes have, moments where I'm I can't create anything. I don't know what I need to do to get myself going here. And that's whether I'm having a writer's block thing, or I'm a writer, or whether I'm actually sitting in front of something where I have to pull something together for a client. What kind of things are you doing? Talk about when you're stuck. And I feel like there's a lot of people right now that are sort of stuck. They're just sort of, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We're in a very challenging political environment. AI feels like it's attacking us. Literally, it feels like we're under attack. It's especially for creatives, especially for artists, it's like some kind of, torture chamber in some ways. You have to figure this out. So, and I think that's causing some people to actually not move. They're just like, what do I do? Has that ever happened to you? And just put it in the context of today, and what kinds of things you're doing to get yourself out of that so that you can create? I don't know, maybe, and I should say, maybe right now you're like, girl, listen, I am in a flow. And right now this is not happening to me. So if that's happening, think about when it did happen. How did you break?
Yeah. I mean, ideas, I feel like I always have a backlog of ideas, in part because of how slow punch needle is. So it takes so long to realize one idea. Where I then get stuck is which one do I pick, and getting started.